Good morning. It is 7:08 a.m. on Monday, January 22nd, 2018. I'm Christiana Ellis and I just got up. This is 5 more minutes. And I'm sure it's not coming through on the microphone, but I just started hearing a beeping somewhere. Perhaps in a neighboring apartment, but just going deet, deet, deet. Like an alarm clock, maybe? Okay, good. It stopped. I'm glad. I know it wasn't coming through on the audio because I use a dynamic microphone so that the microphone will mostly pick up my voice and not the surrounding environmental sound. But um, who cares? Anyway, how are you guys this morning? Um, we're making progress, I think, slowly with Luna in terms of sleeping through the night. She still tends to wake up around like 12:30 to 1 a.m. for some reason. It's like her body's on a little clock. It seems like almost like no matter when I take her out before bed, like it could be 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I've even done 11 o'clock, she still wakes up at about 12:30 or 1 a.m. I'm not sure why that is. But she tends to want to go outside and be relatively insistent about it at that time, which is not ideal. But for several nights in a row, if I take her out at that time, she sleeps through the rest of the night just fine. Which, I mean, I would still prefer to not have to get up and take her out at that point. But, I mean, one time per night is better than 3 times per night, which it was for a little while. So, working on it. She's walking a lot better. When I took her for a longer walk yesterday, she did get a little tired and she was obviously a little bit sore for the rest of the evening afterwards. But, improvement. The other thing yesterday is that I got out the HTC Vive VR headset for the first time in a little while. Um, I hadn't, done it for a little while, partly because when my apartment was messier and more cluttered, it just felt like it was going to be more work to clear the space needed for it. So yet another bonus to having clutter, decluttered a little bit. Now it's funny because actually, the stuff that you see in this video could give you the impression that there's still a fair amount of clutter. Like my counter gets more or less cluttered, and of course I've got the bookshelf here with tons of stuff on it. But improvement. But the I kind of had Star Trek on the brain yesterday because, of course, there was a new Star Trek Discovery episode. Continuing to really like the show, although its sort of relentless serialized pace and intense tone is a little bit emotionally exhausting. It doesn't let us catch our breath very much. But I do like it a lot. Um, there's a couple of plot threads that I'm hoping still get resolved and are not left where they are. But I don't know. We'll see so far, but I do like the show a lot. But tying Star Trek together with the VR headset, there's a game called Star Trek Bridge Crew that I picked up for free as part of a promotional thing, and it's basically the idea is it's a multiplayer game, although I haven't tried that aspect of it yet, where there's four of you in essentially a virtual model of a starship bridge. And so you have one person who's the captain, one person who's at helm, one person at tactical, and one person at engineering. And it models you sitting there at the station, and you have the various buttons and everything. And the idea is that it'll put you in different scenarios, and then each person really has to do their own part. Like, the helm obviously steers the ship, controls like where we're going, where we're moving, both in terms of, warping around, using impulse engines to get around, and of course just like tactical movement in a localized space. Tactical obviously controls things like weapons, like phasers, scans, shields, so on. Engineering basically diverts power to one system or another. So basically, oh well, we need to go faster, so we need more power to the engines. We need more power to the shields, more power to the warp, for example. And then, of course, the captain has all of the information kind of feeding into them more, thoroughly. So, like, they're the one that kind of, first of all, knows what the objective of the mission is and gets, like, simplified versions of all the displays come to them. And so the idea is that they are the one that's kind of directing everybody, So they're the one that knows, okay, we need to be able to escape from this ship, so I need to tell engineering to divert more power to the engines so that the helm can make us go faster and so on. And it's kind of a neat idea. I only just yesterday just did a little bit of the training modes. I haven't dipped into the actual multiplayer yet, so I'm not even really sure like if it's going to be easy to find a game with other players or what. There you can do a single player version with AI, but like I said, just did the training mode. One of the things that struck me about it, and this is often true of a lot of these virtual reality games, is that like the details that really hit you are not always the ones you would expect. For one, while I really like a lot of it, um, and this is not even something I dislike. It was just something I wouldn't have expected to have any opinion about. Is that when I created the little female avatar for myself, and you're modeled there in the game, you're wearing this is the original series type of uniforms, and so it has the really short skirts. And also, just coincidentally, the modeling of the hands and arms that you see, and the legs that you see when you look down, are very skinny, or at least they felt very skinny to me, who I am not a skinny person. And so when I look down at hands and arms that are very skinny and legs that are very skinny in a short little mini skirt, that's different than what I'm used to seeing, and it surprised me more than I expected. And it was, and it's like it's not a dramatic thing. It's just what's interesting about the virtual reality games, like I said, is that kind of two things happen when you're in a virtual setting like that. One is how impressive your rational mind finds it. Your rational mind that understands that you're in a virtual environment that was programmed by programmers and has textures and is being run by a computer, and remembers that you still have you forgot to turn off Netflix playing Frasier in the background, so that's why you kind of hear that over in that direction, and understands intellectually everything that's happening. But then there's the animal sensory part of your brain that is actually fairly easily fooled by the level of technology in this headset, and can really give you that impression that you are in this location even when you know you're not. And that's actually why sometimes it's when you trip up a little bit that can be very disorienting, in the sense that like one of the things you don't get a lot of force feedback for one. Like there's a game where you can climb stuff and you're literally, you reach out with a controller and you do this to climb, but you don't actually feel any weight. So it kind of gives you this weird feeling of infinite arm strength where you can just hand over hand, shoop, 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 with no effort at all to climb up places, which is a weird feeling. But and then also, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point. Point is, I broke it back out, and it's interesting, and I'm going to continue to play it. But again, like I said, the extremely skinny, mini-skirted avatar in Star Trek Bridge Crew kind of took me off guard, because it just sort of like that conflict between the intellectual part of me that knows it's just the avatar and the animal part of me that looks down and says, "What? That looks weird. What's going on?" Creates kind of an interesting mental conflict. Anyway, I've got to get ready for work, so I'll talk to you tomorrow for 5 more minutes.